Hello and welcome to Cavs Daily, your one stop shop for everything Cavs related. I'm your host, Paul Williams, the authority when it comes to Cavalier basketball. And today we will be touching on some history as well as some things that could affect the team going forward. We're going to start today with some comments made recently from our ex coach, Ty Lue. He was on Shannon Sharp's podcast, I think maybe a week ago or so, and it was a very interesting podcast. Obviously, Ty Lue has a lot of history with the Cavs and with LeBron James, and it was just interesting to kind of get his point of view on things, how he felt about his time in Cleveland, uh, the struggles of coaching a LeBron James-led team, and the expectations that come with it. It was interesting because he was in a tough spot as he took over as head coach midway through a year that we were already the number one seed in, and we're just coming off a finals appearance. So he was thrust into a tough situation, and it was nice to get insight on kind of how he handled that, some of the struggles he had during that time, and even how he got to the Cavs. I guess he was very, very adamant in staying with Doc Rivers as an assistant coach at the time. He was with the LA Clippers. Doc Rivers was the head coach. Ty Lue was the lead assistant. And in the 2014 offseason, he spoke about how the Cavs went really hard after him. At first, it seemed like he had a chance to be the head coach originally, but ended up getting an offer to be an assistant coach, and the Cavs went back and forth with him and ended up giving him an offer he couldn't refuse. I think it was like $2.2 million or something like that. So it was interesting to hear how he even got to Cleveland. And then he talked about once he was here, obviously the rivalry with Golden State and kind of how he went about doing things and how his strategies during all those finals runs that we had and all of those great series against the Warriors. He touched on a couple cool stories about the comeback in 2016, how exhausted LeBron was during that fateful timeout in Game 7 with about a minute left, where they decided to give Kyrie the ball and let him kind of do his thing. He also talked about how he was not expecting Kyrie to shoot a three and how his heart kind of sunk when he shot it, but obviously that all turned out well. And the biggest thing that he touched on that really got to me, because I felt this way for years now, ever since 2017, he talked about Kyrie's trade request, how it went down, how everyone reacted, specifically LeBron, and all of the fallout that came from that. I mean, he said verbatim, flat out, that LeBron would have stayed in Cleveland most likely for the rest of his career if Kyrie never leaves. And if LeBron stays and Kyrie's still there, obviously we would have been competing for many, many championships in the preceding years. He also touched on that, and he said it himself. He thought the Cavs still had another 2-3 rings at least that they could have got out of that group, and he thinks they were really set to be a dynasty, especially with how things ended up happening with Golden State kind of falling apart just a year after, and the NBA becoming wide open for the first time in a while. His thoughts, I think, were similar to a lot of Cavs fans with what could have been if Kyrie just didn't have that moment of, I mean, let's be honest, selfishness, childishness. I mean, Kyrie, you ruined a freaking dynasty, man. You don't have a ring since then. You have been to one final since then. Didn't play well in that finals. But yeah, Ty Lue agreed that losing Kyrie really changed a lot, and he said LeBron's reaction was, as you can imagine, of disgust and just truly heartbroken. I guess they were at a jersey autograph session, and when the news came down, LeBron kind of just leaned back in his chair and took a good 10, 15 minutes to himself, just in disbelief, because I think at that point, LeBron knew, Ty Lue, and a lot of people knew this changes everything, and LeBron's probably not long for Cleveland after that. But back to if Kyrie did stay, I mean, I'm a firm believer that the Cavs win at least, at minimum, two more championships. But I think we could still be competing for championships right now if he doesn't make that decision. And that's what I want to talk about in this next topic. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the Cavs would have continued to make those final runs and continued to build up to becoming what could be now looked at as a dynasty? Or do you think this was inevitable? The Cavs might have stayed together a couple more years, but Kyrie would have left or things would have broke apart and that would have never came to fruition. Me personally, I truly believe 100% the Cavs probably, let's see, we went to four straight titles or four straight finals from 14 to 18. I think from 18 to 25, we go back to at least four more finals, and that's being modest. I mean, I don't see a team in the Eastern Conference that would have been competing with the Cavs, especially, I mean, could you imagine how much better they would have gotten playing together for all these years, how much they would have grew as a tandem? Would have been a really scary sight for the NBA. And I think we'd be sitting here right now talking about the Cavs dynasty in comparison to other dynasties of the past, whether it's the 80s Celtics and Lakers or the 90s Bulls. I truly believe the Cavs would be right up there with that type of company. I think we definitely win the 2019 championship that Toronto won. I mean, Toronto clearly couldn't get past Cleveland in the playoffs the previous 4 years. I don't see that changing, even with them adding Kawhi that year. I do think the Cavs make it to the finals again, and if KD and the Warriors aren't absolutely healthy, the Cavs win the title. If you replace the Cavs team with Kyrie still, you replace the Raptors with that Cavs team, the Cavs win that finals for sure. There's no doubt about it. And after that, I mean, that you already have two championships and still have a lot of years to compete. We could easily be sitting here talking about 4 or 5 championships in the past 10 years. Obviously, that didn't work out, but I'll never get over that belief that the Cavs were for sure going to stack up some more titles if Kyrie just doesn't have the weak moment of selfishness and demand that trade. Unfortunately, the reality is he did demand that trade, and the Cavs looked completely different the following year and obviously years after. And that brought me to another thought I had. The 2018 Cavalier squad that didn't have Kyrie made a bunch of changes in the offseason and at the midway point of the season, still made a run to the finals where they lost to the Warriors. How would that 2018 team stack up with this 2025 Cavs team? Do you think in a 7-game series, the 2018 team would have beaten this Cavs team that we currently have? It's an interesting thought because while I think top to bottom, this Cavs version of 2025 is clearly a lot deeper and a lot better than the 2018 version. You had a LeBron James that was playing at a level that, I mean, you might have seen few guys do it in the NBA. Maybe Michael Jordan, maybe Kobe for a little bit, but LeBron was playing at a historic level, and I don't know. It seems like this Cavs team is so well put together and such a good team up and down the roster that you would think, yeah, this team would for sure win. But when you add in the LeBron factor and the way he was playing in 2018, I do think it'd be a great series. I think it'd be a 7-game series. I do think this 2025 version would probably beat the 2018 version, but it's so tough to say with LeBron James still in his prime on the other side. It's hard to count that team out. But outside of him, they had a starting lineup of Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, George Hill, and Tristan Thompson. And then off the bench, they had Jeff Green, Larry Nance, Kyle Korver, Cedi Osman, a couple guys. I mean, I just don't think that they could have beaten this team with how we're constructed now, but you can never count out a LeBron led team. So that's why I think it would go 7 games with this 2025 version, uh, as long as everyone's healthy, obviously. I think they would etch it out and get the win. But yeah, it was just an interesting thought I had, and I wanted to share it with you guys and see what you might think about it. Am I wrong? Do you think the 2018 team would have won, or do you think the 25 team is way, way better and it would have been a 4-0, 4-1 type series? Would love to hear what you guys think about that. And now to kind of transition back to where we're at today and what's going on in the NBA at this very moment. We've been going over possible free agents that are still left that we might be able to bring in with some of the injury trouble that we've had recently. But we haven't really touched on a few guys that are restricted free agents. So, I mean, it's a very, very slim chance that they leave the team they're currently on. But it's still worth talking about, I think, and worth imagining what it would look like if we were able to bring one of those guys in. Uh, the top 4 that came to mind were Jonathan Kuminga of Golden State, Josh Giddey with the Chicago Bulls, Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets, and then Quentin Grimes from the Philadelphia 76ers. I think Giddey and Kuminga would clearly be out of the price range for the Cavs, as they're both going to be getting at least 15 to 20 million a year, I'd imagine. Giddey probably a little more than that. And I don't think either one are worth it. Now, if we could bring those guys in without giving up too much and the financials all worked out, I think they could fit. I mean, Giddey is just a playmaker. He scored better the second half of last season, but he's at his best when he's making plays for others and not being counted on to be the top scorer or leading scorer of a team. I do think, though, with his play style, it didn't work in OKC as they started to grow and take the next steps. That's where he originally played at before he was traded to the Bulls for Alex Caruso last offseason. So I think if he couldn't fit with SGA and the OKC squad, I don't see him really being a great fit with this Cavs team. So I don't love the thought of Giddey being on the Cavaliers. Kuminga, with the right attitude, could be a great piece. He can really play the 1 through 4. He can guard the 1 through 4. He's lengthy. He's a slasher that can knock down the 3. And he's still young and developing. So I think he'd be interesting. But obviously, he's out of our price range. But we're allowed to dream on Cavs Daily. So that's what we're doing. And the other 2 guys, Cam Thomas, he's just a microwave scorer, a guy that can put up 20, 25 points a game on a bad team. On a good team, he'd probably be more of just a scoring punch off the bench, probably like a 14-point per game type guy off the bench on a winning team if he was bought into that. Don't think he'd be a great fit for the Cavs, but he is a talented basketball player. Now, Quentin Grimes, that's the guy I think is really interesting because originally drafted by the Knicks, he's bounced around now a little bit the last couple years, from the Knicks to the Pistons, was with the Mavericks to begin last season before getting dumped to the 76ers. And once he got to Philadelphia, he really became a different player. He dropped 40. He was scoring in the 20s consistently. He just showed a side of his game that hadn't been seen on the NBA floor, at least thus far in his career. He's a taller guard, combo guard that is really good defensively, a 3-and-D guy that can do a little more on offense. He can slash a little bit, get to the basket. And I think he'd be a perfect fit on the Cavaliers team. Unfortunately, I do think he played himself out of contention for a team that's salary strapped because he's going to get a much bigger payday than it looked like he'd probably get going into the season. So I do think he played himself out of ever being a realistic possibility for the Cavs to bring in right now. But yeah, out of those four guys, I think Grimes would be the best fit. And the 76ers, they don't have a reason really to rush to sign him as they hold his rights. So any other team that would try to sign him, they'd have the ability to match that and keep him in Philadelphia. So I think that's why nothing has gotten done yet. But I see him staying. I mean, I think all of these guys will end up staying with the team that they're on right now. But it's just worth discussing because at this point in the offseason, if you're still thinking about adding guys, you do have to get creative. And sometimes restricted free agents can be options. So out of those guys, I would love to see Quentin Grimes in a Cavs uniform. Probably not going to happen, but what will happen, I can promise you, is I'll be back tomorrow with another one of these, and the day after, and the day after that. And I'm hoping you guys will be here with me. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to me ramble a little bit about Cavs history and Cavs present issues. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And yeah, check back in tomorrow, 10 a.m., for a new episode of Cavs Daily. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful day.